On August 17, 2021, 2 days after the fall of Kabul, the Taliban held a press conference promising amnesty for former government officials, respect for women's rights, and freedom of the press. Nearly 4 years later, it is clear that the Taliban has upheld none of these promises, instead conducting a violent campaign of repression. Since the takeover, the Taliban has targeted former government and security officials, carried out collective punishments in areas where anti-Taliban groups have emerged, and imposed ultra-conservative societal restrictions, especially on women and journalists, aimed at maintaining control. ISIS-K, as well as many other terrorist groups, have since gained a foothold in Afghanistan. ISIS-K, being the most notable one, has also carried out attacks against the Taliban, as well as innocent civilians in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, women in Afghanistan are banned from leaving the house alone, going to school past the 8th grade, working, speaking with each other in public, singing, listening to music, or doing anything without permission. Yet when you turn on the news and see the plight of the country of Afghanistan, as well as its ordinary people suffering, what you don't see are the various resistance groups in Afghanistan that are fighting back against the Taliban's oppressive regime. At the time of recording this video, there are 3 different anti-Taliban resistance groups. The first and most notable one is the NRF, or the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan. The second was the Afghan Liberation Front, and the third is the Afghan Freedom Front. Now, I am not entirely sure if these resistance groups are working together, but what I do know is that thanks to them, attacks against the Taliban regime have ramped up in the past 2 years. It took a while for the resistance groups to consolidate themselves, but now we are seeing them actively fight against the Taliban in almost 1/3 of the country. Now, this may not seem significant, but when the U.S. was occupying Afghanistan, it took the Taliban roughly 8 years to be present in almost half of the country. The resistance has really only have been active for almost 2.5 years, and now they are present in 13 out of the 34 provinces of Afghanistan. That means in 4 years' time, if the Taliban continue their cruel and dogmatic rule, the resistance will be present in almost half of the country. And since July of this year, they have been increasing their number of attacks around Afghanistan, the most notable ones being in the far western parts of the country, along the border with Iran and Turkmenistan. It's unclear at the time whether the resistance groups are receiving support from the neighboring countries around Afghanistan. But what is known at the moment is that most of the special forces that we trained and supplied for 20 years in Afghanistan have fled to the neighboring countries of Iran, Tajikistan, and some even to Uzbekistan and Pakistan. So it's not a stretch to say that some of them might be taking refuge in those countries, while at the same time planning and orchestrating attacks within Afghanistan. It's just a theory that I have. I don't have any evidence to prove it. However, David Galula, one of the most influential scholars when it came to coin or counterinsurgency doctrine, said that the most ideal country for an insurgent is a country that is shaped like a star. Well, not literally like a star, but essentially a landlocked country with its neighboring countries not liking the host insurgent's country. And that is essentially what Afghanistan is, and also has become. Afghanistan is a large country ruled by an extremist hardline Islamist group, and countries like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan are all secular countries. Meanwhile, Iran, which is also an Islamist fundamentalist country, is a Shia-dominated country, whereas the Taliban is mainly Sunni. And the Taliban have been known for persecuting and targeting the Hazaras, who are a Shiite minority in Afghanistan, which has led to many Hazars fleeing Afghanistan and joining the Fatimiyan, a Shia paramilitary group backed by Iran. This can prove to be a major problem for the Taliban in the future, because the Fatimiyan has begun making inroads in Afghanistan and establish a presence in some cities. Now, there have not been any official attacks that the Fatimiyan has made against the Taliban yet. However, as the Taliban continues to attack and kill Hazaras, the more they will be driven to radicalization, which means the Taliban may have to deal with another insurgency on their hands. In addition to this, Pakistan is currently having troubles with the TTP, or Pakistani version of the Taliban. Since the Taliban took over Afghanistan in 2021, terrorist attacks have increased in Pakistan by up to 500%. Meanwhile, the Balochis are increasing its own wave of attacks throughout Iran and Pakistan, as well as allying itself with the Afghan Taliban, which may soon turn into another insurgency for the Pakistani government. And on the other side of the Durand Line border, people in Afghanistan are starving due to a lack of water and poverty. It seems like so far the Taliban has been putting on a show of normalcy and stability for the people of Afghanistan. But recent events may prove otherwise, and the Taliban regime may not be as strong and unwavering as many people might have thought. Thank you for watching this video. Stay safe and have a wonderful day.